basketball can be a mysterious sport.
The team whose logo is in this envelope will have the first pick in the NBA draft.
Watch James. Now wanted a timeout, but too late to get it. And 5 minutes go up on the clock. Overtime here in game one.
Will Giannis win a title in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform?
It's hard for me to say that, Jay, considering how loaded the Lakers are. I don't know if you've been watching Taylor Horton Tucker over the last couple of days.
But what if those mysteries could be solved? What if those conspiracies are reality? The hoop truth is out there. Can you handle it? So I've seen lately a certain distaste from draft Twitter on mock drafts as a concept in general. And I get it on some level. It's people pretending they know how the draft is going to go, and it's never going to go that way. It's not as efficient as a big board where you're ranking the number of prospects you think are going to go, but not necessarily in the order that they'll go. It's just kind of like more of a content piece that people trot out at this time. However, I would bring a point that maybe it's just not that deep. And that's what we're going to do here today on the Hoop Truther podcast. This is an unserious, low stakes, just an excuse to talk about the prospects we think will go in the first round, or just some of our favorite prospects in the draft. Mock draft from the Hoop Truther pod. Joining me as always is Nick Andre at Nick Andre ATR on Twitter. The hardest working man on Twitter, I like to say, and I pretty much believe that as well. Dre, how are you doing, man?
Fantastic. It's been a really phenomenal last 3 or 4 days. As we all know, the outcome of the 2022 NBA Finals,
Yes,
and whose team ended up winning it all. Congrats to the Golden State Warriors. And on top of that, you know, we have the draft coming up, so I'm just definitely excited. It's going to be a good week for basketball, to say the least.
Would have been a nice time to have a Boston Pack episode for Dre, who's been nervously tweeting his way through the entire playoffs, but now it's strictly serotonin tweets from Dre on the timeline regarding the Warriors. And we're moving straight onto the draft. We just don't have time. Congrats to the Warriors. Congrats to everybody. We got the draft. When this drops, it'll be Tuesday the 21st, 2 days away from the draft in Brooklyn on Thursday. I will be in New York on the mecca of basketball in MSG, missing the draft to go see John Mulaney. I bought the tickets in the summer, so however you feel about John Mulaney now, you can't blame November me because I didn't know about any of this, okay? Let's move on to the mock draft. I've got 2 guests with me to help with the mock draft, so it's going to be 4 participants in total. Let's start with the man who was on the podcast just a couple of weeks ago. Kevoo, sir, welcome back to the pod. How are you?
Doing great, man. Appreciate y'all having me back. Like Nick said, it's going to be a good week of basketball. I'm excited to do this, and I appreciate you guys having me on again.
Of course. Get at him at EasyMoneyKev7 on Twitter. A lot of heat content there. And a guest of No Bucks Given from back in the day. I say that like it wasn't several months ago. Coming back for the first time, joining the Circle of Trust is Beyond the RK at Beyond the RK. Welcome back, bro. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Can't wait to talk some draft.
Man, the last time we spoke, the episode, I took a look back. It's talking about the bright future, the way that the Orlando Magic are building right now. They've got these rookies that are developing, and that the Magic are rebuilding in a correct way for the first time in a while, and allowed to. Not necessarily the GM's fault, but just allowed to do that by the ownership for the first time in a while, and it has resulted in the ultimate prize, the number 1 pick. In a draft that it's not bad to have the number 1 pick, especially depending on who you're high on, especially. And that's almost half the reason we brought on RK to talk about the number 1 pick. So here's how it's going to go. You don't have to take who you think is the best person at the slot in the draft. You don't have to take who you think would be the best fit for that team. you can choose a player in the draft for any particular reason. You just need to let us know why. It can be because you think they're the best or the best fit. Just let us know why you're doing it, and it's just an excuse to talk about that prospect. We'll go RK first, Kevoo second, guests first. Dre, I will let you go third, and I'll finish it out at 4 with the dreaded number 4 pick with Sacramento. But let's start with number 1. RK, let's plug you really quick at Beyond the RK on Twitter, and please go check out Beyond the RK Substack. We'll tweet it out after this. There's a post that you had a couple of days ago that leads me to believe you'll go a certain way with this pick, and if it is that, I am very happy to hear it. Sir, who are you picking at number 1 overall in the 2022 NBA draft for the Orlando Magic?
Chet Holmgren, once again. I got to do it. You know it's coming. I got to do it. This pretty much all the signs for the Magic themselves point to Chet. I'd say a combination of reasons. I project this front office to be high on Chet. I'm probably personally would have him on top of my board just for the Orlando Magic as well. And it's a very close call for me, it's between him and Paolo a little more seriously, with Jabari and Jaden Ivey also in the discussion, worthy of that top selection. For me, it would come down to Chet and Paolo. And I think basically between Chet's, first of all, he's played with Jalen Suggs in basketball pretty much since 3rd grade. They won 3 championships together in Minnesota. They followed each other to Gonzaga. There's obviously somewhat of a connection and friendship relationship there where they want to play together. But beyond that, this front office has always coveted length and the longest players with skills. They're the group that took Jonathan Isaac and Bamba, Giannis, obviously.
Right.
They did draft Jabari Parker back then as well.
Yeah, they did.
So that could be a point for either way, I guess. But mostly, Chet just kind of has, in my opinion, somewhat of the safest skill set to bet on, even though there are some concerns with his frame holding up over an 82-game season. I can understand that people aren't necessarily sold right away when I think the stats are 195 pounds and 7'2" or something like that. So there's never really been a body type like that necessarily in a prospect, but there's been some similarities with Porzingis and Ingram finding success with similar types. But really just between his defensive instincts as a shot blocker, he should slide right into that Bamba role at the 4, stretching the floor and picking pops and being able to attack closeouts and really just fit right in. I think it's not a no-brainer, but I think it kind of just ends up being that for all those reasons for the Magic at 1.
Everything that you see right now, at least everything that I'm looking at, and this is borrowed from Piltrilled on Twitter, Philadelphia 76ers guy, but waiting for the slop right now. Just all the news coming out. I saw, the Denver trade to 30 had me just jonesing. I'm waiting for Thursday. I can't wait. So I'm looking at all the mock drafts I can find, looking at videos on YouTube, and it is a majority of people selecting Jabari Smith Jr., number 1 overall for the Magic. And a lot of reports that are coming out say that, the Magic are leaning number 1 overall, which, at least in my experience, and please correct me, RK, I'm not paying attention as much to the Magic, obviously, as you are, but the front office in Orlando doesn't really talk at all, right?
Right. That's definitely what they're known for, keeping their lips shut and not getting any rumors leaking out. So that's the one reason, at least, that why I would have pause with rumors happening the month before the draft. I'm positive there's agents involved and teams involved, and I think it involves pretty much everyone's interest for people to think that the Magic have interest in Jabari at 1, because that can help Jabari's value in the draft. That can help other teams say they got the almost 1 pick if he falls. Right. The Magic even move back. Maybe if they like Chet or Paolo, there's rumors of the Rockets trying to secure Paolo 100%, so they might throw a few picks into the trade to move up from 3 and secure him. So Orlando could always move back a few spots and still get one of these top talents.
Really quick on Chet before we move on to the number 2 pick in the draft. A lot of people have concerns with the frame, primarily as a number 1 defensive anchor on a team or as a post option. But that's sort of, in my opinion, an older way of looking at things because that's not how the NBA is trending right now. A skilled big that can switch and run the floor is great, but what teams are doing is pairing multiple of them. So if you have Chet with another skilled big, there's less concerns of his defensive impact if you have a bigger center next to him, as well as on offense where he'll be able to toggle between bigger wings guarding him as opposed to rock solid big men he has to post up. And in Orlando, they have that surplus. I'm not talking about Mo Bamba, even though he is sort of like a flavor of the month, and I think he's going to get a decent contract in restricted free agency. But Wendell Carter Jr. was a lot better than people think he was last year. And just like Jared Allen was good, but then fully unlocked by a skilled big and Evan Mobley, I think the same thing will happen with Wendell Carter with Chet coming in. So I think it's a no-brainer, even though RK said it wasn't. But OKC is not upset whatsoever, even though Chet fills perfectly everything that OKC believes in a prospect. They've got 2 guys and 3 guys, depending on how you think, for number 2. Kevoo, you are OKC or Sam Presti. You can talk on something I didn't mention, but if you want to talk about a pick you think you'll get traded, you can talk about that. But for now, we're going to pretend everyone that's on the board's on the board. So OKC at number 2, who are you taking?
I'm going with Jabari Smith Jr.
Got him.
I'm glad
man.
I'm glad RK going with that because I really am hoping that this is how it plays out, that Jabari ends up at OKC, just because, I mean, his jump shooting ability is just like, it's the best we've seen for a guy that height in a long time. You know what I'm saying? And I think with the wingspan, honestly, I just feel like we haven't seen the best of Jabari yet. That's what I'm banking on for the most part. Like, I know a lot of people have complaints about him not, getting to the basket as much as they would have liked him to see, but the college spacing is different than the NBA. We all know that. There's no defensive three key in the college game. And I think with that, him having such a good jumper that translates is going to allow him to get to the rim a lot more easier, with those opportunities. I just think you look at the potential pick and pops between him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like that's a
– Giddy too.
And Giddy too, like that's a lethal combo. You know what I'm saying? And again, I just think it's so like defensively, he showed good instances and flashes of just being active on the ball and off the ball and being able to guard and pick and roll coverages. But I think ultimately, like if you just get him in that right situation, he's going to develop. I think you can make an argument between who has the safest intangible between Chet's defense and Jabari's jumper.
Right.
But, I just love Jabari's jump shot. Man, I really just think it translates to the next level. And I think, again, with all the spacing he's going to have in the NBA, it's going to allow him to be a much better player. And I think OKC is the perfect spot for him with the PG like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
From what I've seen on Jabari is the shot is there, like more than there. He's going to be an actual sniper at 6'10" in the league. And the defense is there, and the upside for defense is even greater than we see. A lot of the concern, or at least some of the concern, is the scoring upside, which limits his thoughts about a number 1 option. I just think that, again, we need to look at destination, and any big that struggles or doesn't struggle with ball self-creation and ball handling ends up in OKC with who we mentioned in Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and is going to thrive regardless. I think Chet is OKC's number 1 prospect on the board, but more than happy to go Jabari here. And unfortunately for Dre, he does go at number 2. So for Houston at number 3, Dre, I think there's one pick. Who do you think you're going for?
At this point, I kind of want to throw in the towel because, I just made the trade for Christian Wood, sent over to Dallas because I was hoping I was going to get Jabari Smith Jr., but unfortunately he got taken away, but it's all good. So I think I'll just go with the obvious pick, Paolo. So I'm going to try to experiment this little trio that we have, Apollo, Jalen Green, and Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. is a great playmaker, so obviously he'll have the ball in his hands, and then you'll have Jalen Green and Paolo both playing off the ball. Paolo is a freakishly athletic guy, very, very talented offensively. His defense is there too. I still feel like he can have a little bit of work, but that fit could possibly work in Houston. Obviously we know that the team is still in rebuild mode, so this could be something for the future move forward.
The Rockets are going to pair. I think this is going to be the top 3 that goes. Everyone knows that, but I personally think Chet, Jabari, Paolo is how it's going to go on draft night. 1, 2, 3. I would bet on that. It's not financial advice for you guys. I'm saying I personally would bet on that being the top 3 order that goes in on Thursday. And Paolo's offense, Jalen's offense is going to be great with KPJ. I don't know if you guys saw, but Kenyon Martin Jr. like kind of quietly asked for a trade today. Might be moving out of
Saw
there.
that, yeah.
Yep.
The same in New York.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, he'd be great there, just collecting young people. But for this pick for Houston, I think it's great for them. Second year of the rebuild. I think they got one more tank season for them there. I'm at number 4 now. I want to do the rational thing. It's just really hard knowing the team that I'm picking for is Sacramento, who is fielding calls, and I still think that they should go this person, but I'll say, okay, so I'm going Jaden Ivey.
Okay.
I think they're going to go Keegan Murray if they don't trade the pick on draft night. Apparently, they haven't spoken to or worked out Jaden Ivey at all. There's a quote that he had earlier today, and Sacramento, I'm sure, has no issues drafting someone they've never heard of because they do it almost every other year. So it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. But Jaden Ivey is the closest thing that you have to a Ja Morant type of guard in here. If you're not a comp person, that's fine. I'm not trying to comp everybody, but I'm just trying to give people a picture of what's going on. Big, athletic, can dominate games. The defensive potential is there. There was some rookie mistakes in college, but that happens. I think that can be taught pretty well, depending on the system you're in, of course. I just don't know if Sacramento keeps this pick. I can see them talking to Indiana about this pick, surrounding Brogdon and or Turner, although that'd be awkward with Sabonis. But they have number 6. Maybe they move up to 4, guarantee themselves a guy. I could see a lot of things happening. Detroit especially could be in on this pick. But I'll go Jaden Ivey, best guard in this class, and could end up being one of those top 3 guys, like better than them. Dre, give me one thought on Jaden Ivey. Do you think he deserves to go number 4?
I believe so, but if both parties are not really on the same page, then I would say, just make the trade or whatever, or at least go for Keegan Murray, in my opinion. It seems like Jaden Ivey's not really interested in going there. Obviously, he has no choice if he gets selected there, but it seems like both parties are not really on the same page. So in my opinion, or my prediction would be that the Sacramento Kings will possibly trade that pick.
RK, you're back on the board. One of your, I guess, fellow competitors in the lottery yearly right now in Detroit has the number 5 pick, probably hoping for a bit higher than that. Who do you see them taking with who's left on the board at this pick?
Well, I have a little bit of a teardrop off here, so I guess it could come down to who they see with the best fit.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp is probably the high potential pick, and Jalen Duren has some finisher that could be a nice play finisher, right? Playing off Cade, where it's maybe a safer pick. You know what you're getting as a rim roller. I think I would go AJ Griffin here for the 3-point shooting off of Cade, and I guess they're kind of investing in Bagley as well, taking a flyer on him, see how that fit is. But AJ Griffin's 3-point shooting could be the best off-ball shooter in the draft, at least by the numbers. Obviously, he had a lot more production and better tools back in high school. Is a lot of people would like to see that kind of like rekindle that athleticism, which might be easier said than done. But in terms of the shooting and just the overall defensive tools, I think there's a lot to like there, and especially as maybe not a 3 and D yet, but definitely the 3-point side of that, and then developing the defensive tools and probably just a really nice off-ball shooter to play off Cade and attack as a secondary threat there.
Kevoo, how do you see AJ Griffin as a potential fit on the Pistons roster?
I like it. Obviously, you have Cade, who's going to be a future star, if not superstar in this league, to set him up, big time PG. And, for like RK mentioned, I think AJ Griffin, being a fan of college basketball, he was one of the best catch and shoot players in the country. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't have to really do much playing with that stacked Duke squad. And I just think having an even better point guard than, Jeremy Roach was pretty good. But, having a guy like Cade to just make life easier for him, his job is going to be real simple. He ain't got to do too much. He ain't got to be the ultimate scorer or anything like that. He can literally just be set up. He got the ultimate table setter to play next to. And he's a pretty good defender, too, at 6'5", 6'6". So I think this is a quality pick for the Pistons. I really don't think they can go wrong with this pick because, again, you already have, your foundation for the most part. Now it's just about filling in the pieces next to him.
100%.
Also, don't forget he's got tremendous size, standing at about like 6'6", weighing about like 225 as well. So he definitely has a lot of stature as well at that two-man position.
Up at number 6, Kevoo, you are up again, is the Indiana Pacers, who, a lot like the Magic, jump-started a rebuild with a trade of some players, and they've got the number 6 pick that they can pair with Tyrese Halliburton and Chris Duarte, among other pieces they may choose to hold on to. Kevoo, who do you see them taking?
Should be easy.
Man, I ain't gonna lie. I want to go in one direction, but I'm gonna just do this for the sake of the draft. I wanted to go Keegan Murray, which I think probably be obvious. He fits probably perfectly here. But man, I'm gonna go with Ben Mathurin.
Yeah,
I think
that's the way to go.
That's next on board too, though. Why not?
So I feel like Benedict Mathurin, man, just absolute stud. I talked about the last time I was on here. Big body frame. On the ball, off the ball, he can just do so many things. I remember watching this game, Arizona play USC, out here early in the season. He was just dominant from start to finish. The entire team was, but he just put on a clinic, passing, scoring, defending at a high level. Like this dude, man, I told you guys last time, like I really think this dude down the line could be a star. You know what I'm saying? He took a big leap. I think he averaged something like 12 points as a freshman. He averaged like 18 this year on a really good Arizona Wildcat squad. Like, he just has it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, some guys you just look at, they just look like a star. You know what I'm saying? He just looks like an NBA-ready player. And Benedict Mathurin, man, I just think down the line, I was a big Chris Duarte believer last year. I think eventually you can kind of just put him as like that spark plug, six-man type guy. You can start Benedict Mathurin next to Tyrese Halliburton. That's going to be a hell of a duo, for the Pacers in the near future.
I like that a lot. Mathurin's explosive, just has that bounce, the 3 and D floor, and you want to invest in that. I really love the north-south force. That it's so bankable at that level of athleticism where like that's not going away. Like there might be more room at the next level for him to get through at that. So it's like, will the mid-range game be something he can develop a little bit off the ball, or on the dribble, off the dribble, on ball? There it is. But that's kind of the upside play. But everything else just seems like a good 3-point shooter, good guard defender, explosive, like just all the things you want in that 2 guard, especially potential score. It kind of reminds me of like the way Donovan Mitchell was just there in the draft, and he's just like maybe you don't know what his ceiling is, but if he's walking in the league at 20, 23 a game or whatever it is, like just a star, it doesn't really matter. Like that ceiling can only go so much higher.
I like that, especially the fit in Indiana. I think he's got like a lot of potential to have some of those like a role in set pieces that Rick Carlisle likes to throw out in Indiana, like he does with Buddy Hield currently. And I think Buddy Hield is a player that he can try and train with to see how that'll develop there. Number 7, Dre, Portland. You've got some options here. What are you leaning? Again, this is the pick that could easily be traded on draft night. Personally, I think if you can have 2 number 10 picks in this draft, you really should and really build out your core. But Dre, who are you taking if Portland stays on the clock at number 7?
Who should Portland go with? This is a team that I don't know if you want to say they're still in rebuild mode or they're building around Dame. I don't know exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Like I don't think anybody knows, but I'm not sure if this guy's already been picked yet. But I'll say a guy like Jalen Duren should go to Portland, in my opinion. And when you look at his versatility, his athleticism, averaging around 12 points a game, 8 rebounds, on almost 60% shooting in Memphis. Had a great show in his freshman season. I feel like he could possibly be a good compliment alongside guys like Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, and other guys as well. So Duren, in my opinion, has a very high ceiling in the NBA, and Portland could possibly be like a good match for him.
I really like that pick. Jalen Duren to Portland. Yusuf Nurkic is a free agent. I think he might be able to be traded. And Duren brings a lot of athleticism. It definitely removes the need of trading for John Collins, who's in play for this pick that they're looking at. I think it's a similar player type there. Right. And number 8 for New Orleans, this is where originally I thought Shaedon would go. I I don't think New Orleans is going to have a top 10 pick for a long time with the talent they've accrued on that roster. This is the last time they'll be there. So I figured they would bet big on things. But some guys that I thought wouldn't be on the board are still on the board. And I think one thing that the Pelicans are going to need at full strength, regardless of Zion being healthy or not, is another playmaker, someone that can have the ball in their hands, a passer. Dre knows who I'm talking about. A defender can guard.
I was
1,
hoping
2,
you said
3,
him.
maybe even more. Keegan Murray's a safe pick here, and he's dropping a little bit further than I thought he would. But after losing Lonzo and Drew Holiday, the Pelicans are going to pair Dyson Daniels with CJ McCollum in
I
the
was hoping you
backcourt.
said him, man.
I think Dyson's one of my favorite players in this draft. I would honestly take him. Like, I don't think this is how it's going to go. I would take him at 5 for Detroit if Ivy's off the board. That's how much I value him. He's got passing chops. He's a monster defensively. I saw some of his tape. He seems like a really high basketball IQ player. And in a season that we just saw a player like Derek White be a big difference at the trade deadline for a player that ended up going to a team that ended up going to the finals, then I think Dyson Daniels profiles as a really similar player, but a little bit bigger, even, and better passing, which I think is super valuable. Yes, there are concerns about him being the number one option on his scoring. He doesn't have a pull-up game or necessarily a mid-range game right now, but that's not what they're trying to do at this pick. He's the fourth option behind CJ, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, even Jonas Valanciunas at times. I wouldn't hesitate for this, and I think I'm happy to see him fall this way if he did. RK, let me hear your thoughts on Dyson.
Yeah, I like that fit. Like you said, it kind of replaces Alonzo connector type of a role, even though he might be less of a three-point shooter necessarily than Lonzo, maybe more closer to Killian. But I really like the defensive, the plus defender and the plus playmaking there. He can make some flashy full court passes that are just fun to watch. And imagine that with Zion running up and down. That'd be real fun. But, like you said, he would not have to worry about scoring there. They have CJ and Jonas and Ingram scoring options in place, and Zion coming down the pipe eventually whenever he gets back. And that's just a nice fit.
You're up next as well, sir. The Spurs at number 9. Good spot for them here, adding to an interesting core, but they certainly don't have the guy yet. What are you thinking here at number 9?
With the Spurs, I mean, that's the type of team you get the most out of a prospect and like really help them, put them in a situation seed.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably, I could go either way. I'm stuck between a few of them, but I'd probably go Shaedon Sharpe here because of the talent, because of the profile, even though it doesn't necessarily jump out as a pick they would make.
Mm-hmm.
I would, just to say it, I'd also think about Tari Eason here. That kind of feels like more of a pick they would make, where it's more of a versatile wing to throw out there. But just because of the profile, I'll probably lean Sharpe. But because he didn't play, I'm not as familiar with his game. But obviously has that athleticism and can shoot off the dribble, and a super high profile star or profile coming in, and obviously didn't play any games for Kentucky and kind of kept that status of being touted early as a high profile prospect, and just kind of rode that out to this moment at the draft.
Dre, you're somewhat of a Shaedon Sharpe believer, right?
Somewhat. It's so funny too because like I was actually on Count the Bucket last night. My co-host Michael, who's a big Kentucky guy, just absolutely hates Shaedon just for that reason. But I honestly, I mean, from my perspective, I like Shaedon Sharpe. He's very talented. I just feel like we haven't. I don't know if the world has really seen like what he can really become. So depending on where he goes, I feel like he'll be able to display that moving forward.
Kevoo, the number 10 pick, the Washington Wizards, a roster that is in between like a lot of these teams that are heading into the early teens here. They've been searching for forwards forever with their last few picks and landed on kind of a couple of them. They've got options to do that again here. They could use a guard. Where are you leaning here if you're at number 10?
Yeah, so I consider the forward route. Of course, Roy Hachimura is kind of like they've been trying to play him at like the 3, but he's more like a
Right.
4 with his foot speed. But I'm gonna go to guard. I think they've been needing that.
Yeah.
Obviously ever since they lost John Wall, they try to, they had a little void year with Russell Westbrook. They're more than likely gonna bring back Brad Beal, and I think this guy kind of has little bits and pieces of Brad Beal in his game. And I'm gonna go with Jaden Hardy, man. I
Yeah.
think this is
I like this.
That's fun.
I'm a big believer in Jaden Hardy. I said it, a million times. I feel like if this dude would have went to college, whether it was Kentucky, UCLA, wherever options he had, I think he would probably easily been a lottery top 10 pick. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like scoring wise, he's one of the best scorers in the game. Deep range. Can get really anywhere he wants to. I know he grew up playing point guard, but he had to adjust, and his scoring prowess just kind of just took off, and he really didn't even care about playmaking like that. But he's just such an elite scorer that you can't pass up on guys like that. You look at all the guards in the league that are just high level bucket getter. I think he's one of them. I think the Wizards would love to have a guy like Jaden Hardy, so I think this is the option for them.
I am a big Jaden Hardy fan in this draft, partially because I think he's going to fall. So obviously, this is a bit moot if he goes at number 10 for Washington. But that is where I think his not so far away ceiling is. We've seen great guards come out of the late half of the draft several years in a row, with Bones Highland going to Denver, Jordan Poole going to the Warriors, Tyrese Maxey going to the Sixers. Obviously, those players have flaws that cause them to go to the end of the draft, but you're picked up by teams that are either running the pick and roll with Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic, 2 MVP candidates, or one of the offensively more aesthetically pleasing systems in Golden State we've ever seen for Poole to get into. Hardy can absolutely be one of those players in the right situation. And in Washington, he's got a scoring backcourt with Bradley Beal that takes some of the pressure off of him. Kyle Kuzma's there. A trio of wings in Rui, Denny, and Kispert, unless they move any of them. And hopefully their starting center in Kristaps Porzingis, Daniel Gafford, I'm a fan of as well. I really like Hardy. I think he's a guy that's going to slip in this draft, but shouldn't. So him going 10 here feels good. And then at number 11, the New York Knicks, who are basically begging for a point guard to slip their way. Dre, the New York Knicks at number 11, are they going to surprise us again? What do you think?
As a GM, my mind is juggling because you're right. They need a point guard. They definitely need somebody who can make something happen. But to be fair, I'm probably gonna send Johnny Davis to New York. Obviously he's one of those guys from Wisconsin, took a big leap from his freshman year, really showing that confidence, being a shot creator, even showing some playmaking as well. So I'm probably gonna go him. It was honestly, I'll be honest, it was kind of a juggle between him, in my opinion, and then Ty. But I feel like Johnny Davis would probably be a better fit.
I really like that, Johnny Davis to New York, and I think New York a month ago probably was hoping that Dyson Daniels would be there at 11 initially, and now it looks like Johnny Davis, who has actually slipped a little bit, I think, as we've gone through the process, going to them at 11 would be great. RK, give me a little bit on Johnny Davis. What are your thoughts on him?
Kind of a 3-and-D, like reliable shooting guard type that should be able to help contribute right away. I was playing around with the Courtney Lee label of the draft, where he and I always think of the Magic team that drafted Courtney Lee and made the finals run with him as a rookie as the starting 2 guard, and he just like outworked the other wings that were like Pietrus and just for the starting gig. But Pietrus was great too. You can't go wrong. But John has a little bit of a lot to like, some mid-range off the dribble potential as well. That would be like the upside. I think I've seen a DeRozan comparison out there, but that might just be because of that. But definitely a lot to like as a contributor right away, and then for at least 3-and-D 2-way impact.
OKC at number 12. This is actually the Clippers' first-round pick that goes to OKC in the Paul George trade. There are rumors that they're trying to package this with future picks to move up for a second number 10 pick in this draft. And in our draft, they took at number 2 Jabari Smith Jr. I think that OKC is trying to move up for another defensive piece that they can put in. either in a center like Jalen Duren or a wing. And I think if they know this guy is going to be available at number 12, they're going to just stop old trades and just go ahead and pair Jabari Smith with Jeremy Sohan out of Baylor. Fits the Thunder draft process pretty well. Lengthy, potential through the roof, defensive. I think he can guard 1 through 4, but maybe 2 through 4 for his first couple of years in the league. Work on one and then fill out the frame for fives. But he is one of those guys that truthfully has potential to guard 1 through 5. The 3-point shot is suspect, but it always is for these types of prospects. You have to be willing to work on it. That's why you take the pick at 12 instead of at 2. But I think OKC has been willing to be very patient with these guys. And just because they're picking Jabari Smith, the most NBA ready player, him and Paolo can contest for that. In the draft doesn't mean they're going to compete right away in a project like Sohan comes out. Kevoo, how are you feeling about Sohan to the Thunder in that situation?
I like this. Like you said, defensively, super versatile. Kind of nervous about his offensive game. He didn't really get a chance to fully, use that in college just because he played on a stacked Baylor squad. So I guess that's kind of to be determined. But I think OKC is a good fit for him just because they need that defense right now. They have a lot of bucket getters between Shea, Josh Giddey, drafting Jabari. Trey Mann was really good for them this year too. So I think they need some defense to start, actually trying to attempt to win games and try and make a playoff push eventually. So I like Sohan in this for OKC here.
OKC leaving the draft with Jabari and Sohan would be just incredible. RK, we've got you at the next pick here for one of 2 picks for the Charlotte Hornets. There are rumors they're shopping one or both of them for some veteran help right now. Maybe they'll package both to move into the top 10 like a lot of teams are trying to. It's one thing you'll hear is a pattern. There's a lot more teams this year that are trying to move up in this draft than teams that are moving to move down and add things. I think everyone is pretty content where they are, and it would take a pretty hefty offer to really move into the top 10. Not as easy as people make it seem. But the Hornets, who have some holes, including head coach that was not expected to be a hole up until days ago, need to surround LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges question mark, and others with some talent, hopefully on the defensive end, hopefully a big man. But at number 13, you can save someone for 15. Who are you taking, RK?
I think I'll go Tari Eason if he's still here. Why not? I have him in that tier there. I was thinking about more of a fit now, but I think he's pretty much my only player left in the second tier. And between everything he can do as a defensive wing, he's like a force of nature, attacking the rim, rebounding. You would hope there's some defensive tenacity there as well that should translate. But playing with LaMelo and a play finisher off that, his high flying. I mean, I'd like to see that fit.
The Hornets picking up guys that rim run, catch lobs, play defense at a frenetic pace is always a thumbs up for me. And Tari Eason definitely fills that. I hope
and Miles Bridges might be out the door. I'm not sure. I mean, he's free agent, right?
I think so.
There could be something of a replacement role there if that goes that way.
I saw reports that they're not necessarily willing to offer him the max, and that's something I would consider. There's going to be a lot of teams that were betting on Zach LaVine being a free agent, like an actually taking meetings with other teams, free agent. Some of the more recent rumors are that he might be just re-upping with the Bulls the second that free agency opens on a massive deal. If that happens, most of those teams' plan B is probably Miles Bridges, and we could see a bidding war happen at that point. And I don't know if the Hornets are going to take a step back this season, a step forward. The new coach is assumedly Mike D'Antoni, but maybe they go to a younger route, hire someone like Johnny Bryant out of New York, and then just take a season, wait for the big guy to show up number one in the next draft. Yeah, exactly. Maybe they tank for one more season, see if they can see something about a Frenchman next year. But right now, I think that's a really good pick for Tari Eason. Let's move on. Kevoo, you've got 14th at Cleveland. Surprising team last year, filled with young talent, adding another pick in a draft that, at this point of the draft, pretty much everyone that I see on the board could be plugged and played in the right system. How are you feeling? Where are you leaning?
Yeah, shout out to the Cavs too, man, because this post LeBron era has kind of been moving on very quickly. Darius Garland is one of my favorite players in the league. Super excited. They were on the cusp of making the playoffs last season before losing to the Hawks in that playing game. But here, I think the perfect fit, potentially losing Colin Sexton. You kind of need another wing guy. I'm going to keep the in-state guy here. I'm going to go with Malachi Branham. Ohio State guard, Big Ten freshman of the year. I really love how, he's just patient. He plays true to himself. You rarely ever see him, forcing shots. He can space the floor for guys like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to operate with. Elite in operating in pick and rolls. I just think he's a pure off guard. I think playing with a guy like Darius Garland would just make his life a lot more easier. And they just kind of need that position right now. You know what I'm saying? They kind of have every other position kind of solidified. They just need that wing. And I think putting a guy like Malachi Branham, again, who's from the state, went to St. Vincent, St. Mary's, obviously the same high school that LeBron went to. Just an overall really good pick for them, I think.
Yeah, there are wings on the board, and a lot of teams in the middle of the round are going to be stockpiling wings because they just don't really make it to the free agency market anymore, at least starting caliber ones. But Cleveland seems like to be prioritizing that secondary playmaker to Darius Garland that can play off ball. They tried to replace Sexton and Rubio twice last year with the Rondo trade and then the Karis LeVert trade. So that's why you see a lot of mock drafts going Malachi Branham here, and you can hear exactly why they would target someone like that. Dre, a couple of thoughts on Malachi, and then you're taking number 15 for Charlotte right after.
I'll be honest. I'm still trying to experiment the possibility of like Garland playing off ball, but I mean, I'm not totally against it. I'm not 100% sure where Cleveland wants to go with the whole Colin Sexton thing. So if they're looking to move on, then I'm definitely cool with the move.
Number 15, Charlotte. Their first pick of the draft was Tari Eason. That's another big forward that they can throw out there, possibly replacing Miles Bridges, possibly being part of the starting lineup with him. In this follow-up, who are you taking for the second pick in the first draft, Trey?
So, in my opinion, why not go for another big? And I'm going to go with Mr. Mark Williams out of Duke.
Yep.
Very great athletic guy, average around 3 blocks a game, but his defense is really bigger than just rim protection. He's able to defend on the switch. He's able to get steals. Deflect passes in the passing lanes, and then of course with his athleticism too. He's able to work in the post as well, being able to get ferocious dunks. So that's honestly what Charlotte needs. I feel like that's what they were missing last year, and we obviously still don't know who's going to be the head coach, but a guy like Williams and his caliber would definitely fit with this Charlotte team.
Williams is mocked to Charlotte probably in more mocks than any other pairing in this draft, whether it's at 13, whether it's at 15. Mark Williams is done to them. I would prefer Jalen Duren as a prospect, but I think there's a pretty good chance he's off the board by the time they get to 13. And they're going to leave with the center in those two picks if they don't, again, shop one for a veteran talent or move both to move up into this draft. I do like Mark Williams. I think them going away with Tari Eason and Mark Williams fills two pretty big holes on the roster before heading into free agency with some important decisions on the way. At number 16 for Atlanta, I'm stopping the slide. He's been going for a while. I think this is a move that they make that they're happy to do at 16 if he's there. They were looking at other guys that were kind of the same prototype as this, but didn't think he would fall, and it might expedite a trade for John Collins out of Atlanta. They're going to go Keegan Murray here. Quote unquote, not as much upside, which is something like people like to say. Although those people didn't project him playing with Trae Young in his first year in the NBA, it's probably going to open a lot more of his game than you see. Keegan Murray's got a lot to his game to like. He's a switchable defender, probably not quick guards like Trae himself, but guards, 2 to 4 type of defender right now with a serious 3-point shot, as well as some playmaking things. I've seen some Pascal comps. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but he definitely has some passing to his game as well, and I think he's really heist for Atlanta here at 16. Kevoo, how are you feeling about that pick? You like Keegan?
Yeah, I like Keegan Murray's game. Super patient, doesn't waste any movements, doesn't waste any dribbles, gets to his spots real well. Again, that long frame, he has he's super tall, so the jump shot is, high, it's hard to guard. I like the Chris Middleton comparisons, I don't think he's going to end up being that good, but I just think, again, a dude that just is really good at getting to his spots, doesn't take bad shots. Rarely does, and he's never crossing dudes up, but he just gets to his spots in a variety of different ways, whether it's jab steps, pump fakes, different things like that. So I think Keegan Murray to Atlanta is kind of what they need. Another guy that can just take off that scoring load for Trae Young. You've seen it was a struggle for them versus my Heat in the playoffs this year, and I just think that's a good pick. That's a really good pick.
RK, at number 17, we have Houston. They have another pick at number 26. I doubt they're going to add 3 rookies to this young roster, but we're going to play it like they do. At number 17, they've got some options here. They got Banchero with their first pick. Are they pairing him with another forward or center? Are they focusing on the backcourt? Where are you leaning here at this pick?
Yeah, I think they should probably target a 3-1 that probably defensively, if they could, with Paolo and Jalen Green and Sengun really filling up some scoring and moving the ball nice. That sounds nice in theory on paper. The guy I like for offensive upside might be Nikola Jovic here, but I don't know if I like the defensive fit necessarily for that team, but I might have him a little higher. Right, yeah, it's just that's a rough defense. Yeah. I'm gonna go bet on potential here with Ousmane Dieng, and just bet on the length and go with the idea that he can bring something as a defender and a playmaker there on the wing. He won't have to worry about offense much at all, just play finishing off of Jalen Green and Banchero and Sengun's playmaking and their scoring creation, and really, really focus on lengthy defense. Hopefully, on-ball perimeter defense would be great, but maybe he's more of a roaming 4, but that's to be determined.
Yeah, 100%. And Houston's not allergic to this type of prospect either. They took Usman Garuba last year, profiles as more of a kind of a shorter Usman, if anything else. Another guy that has some sort of playmaking potential. Not that he has an offensive game, but he can make the right pass, the right read in the pick and roll in light usage. And the shot is a question mark. But like RK pointed out, he doesn't need to do a ton of offense. Think of it as almost how people envision Ben Simmons would be in the Brooklyn Nets system, as somehow how they could use Usman in Houston's system, just surrounding Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, and Banchero. Honestly, would like to see some Banchero Dieng pick and rolls with both of them taking both situations there. I really like that. At number 18, the Chicago Bulls, who have some clear holes on the roster. A spirited season, making the playoffs for the first time in a hot second, but falling short after, obviously running into a buzzsaw in the playoffs, but also some injuries that took out some key players. Kevoo, there are concerns about Lonzo Ball. Are they looking to replace him with guards that are on the table? Are they looking to get another forward that they desperately need if they're going to play in a conference that has Joel Embiid and Giannis? Who's on the board that you like for the Chicago Bulls at number 18?
So it's fun. I think they actually worked out this dude yesterday or 2 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. I'm high on this dude. I've been talking about him since the beginning of the college basketball season this past season. And I'm going to go with Jalen Williams from Arkansas. 6'10", really good defensive player. He had a knack, made a living of taking charges in the college game. I don't think that's going to be the case in the NBA, but I just think super versatile defender, can guard guards, excellent, high IQ. He's not the greatest shooter, but I think that's going to come around with repetition. I just think he just keeps putting him up. He'll be fine. Billy Donovan will instill confidence in that, so I don't even worry about that. And I just think as a playmaker, he does so much to just take off from Zach LaVine. I just think, he kind of be like their Draymond Green in a way. You know what I'm saying? I think they.
I agree.
I love to do it in a lot of different areas, but I think him in Chicago would just be absolutely perfect. You need it. This team, just clearly struggle with perimeter defense in this league, especially in the East, where you have Giannis and Chris Middleton, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, like Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby. You need wings. You know what I'm saying? And I think Jalen Williams is perfect for the Chicago Bulls at this spot.
Jalen Williams is probably the highest riser in draft boards throughout the combine and draft workout process, and was one of the 20 players to receive an invite to the green room on Thursday. Right here at 18 for the Bulls is perfect for him. They're going to use him. I think him and Pat Will is a really good core young wing group, kind of like how Golden State is trotting out Moses Moody and Kuminga learning on the fly in short minutes. I like that a lot. We now have Dre for the Minnesota Timberwolves. At number 19, the Wolves had a fun season, made the playoffs for the first time in, a time. Memphis Grizzlies took them to more games than people would expect, and maybe they need to replace D'Lo. I think they'd trade him if they wanted to. I think they trade him if they could. I don't know who's taking him in a trade right now. They could use size. They could use guards. What are you going here, Trey?
So you basically hit the nail on the head. The experiment of D'Lo being in Minnesota hasn't really been the best, and it's clear that we just saw who won that trade between them and the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, so like I said, so like you mentioned, I don't know, how that's going to work out. I don't know if they're going to try to find a trade for him, and I don't know if this guy will necessarily be like a good replacement for a guy like D'Lo, but I would definitely give him a shot, and that's Mr. Ty Washington. I get it. He definitely he was definitely hurt for like a good portion of the season. He definitely had a lot of inconsistencies, but one thing that I saw about Ty is really just his confidence, just being able to score on all three levels of the floor. Being a shot creator, being able to work around the mid range. I think he can become a better playmaker as time goes on, but obviously that development will come as time passes. I like Ty a lot. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to be like a top 15 pick in his draft, but I still feel like he has a high ceiling moving forward.
Ty Washington, an apparent heir to D'Lo's throne. RK, how are you feeling about that fit in Minnesota?
Nice fit as if he would be replacing D'Lo there, especially because you got a good basketball player, a high profile talent, always. Usually a good bet to bet on a Kentucky guard with that type of a profile as well. They normally pan out at this level, but that's not necessarily always reason, but good pedigree in that sense, and just good at what you want a guard to be good at. He can just move the ball around, involve his teammates, and shoot and pass, dribble, basic stuff, and good pick there. And with Ant, you would like that type of like all around. Keep the ball moving, let him explode and score, and kind of involve everybody there. So that's a nice fit.
We've got the Spurs at number 20. At the number 9 pick, we had them taking Shaedon Sharpe. So they went high upside, high risk with this pick. I think at number 20, they're going to go a little bit more high floor, low risk. Take Ochai Agbaji, get some defense, get a little bit of shooting in there to add to their wing room. I think they could bet on upside here with another guy, but if they're going with Shaedon Sharpe, I think they want to focus on him as being the big project here. That's number 20. We're at about 50 minutes right now. We could burn through the last 10, get some more prospects on the board, or stop it here. How are you guys feeling?
I can keep going.
Yeah. All right. Let's finish it out. If you don't have anyone on the board, I'll read off some names for you if you'd like. But I think we've all got some people that we've got in mind. So let's go right back around to the guy with originally the number 1 pick in this draft for number 21. Beyond the RK, sir, the Denver Nuggets, who traded for number 30 in this draft and maybe trying to use that at number 21 to move up. But as of right now, they stand at 21. Who do you think they'll be going to hopefully help in an immediate playoff rotation with Nikola Jokic?
Well, I mentioned him earlier. I'm going Nikola Jovic. Even though they're projected maybe 10 spots later, I think he's rumored more at like the 30th range. I really like his tough shot-making ability. There's concerns about the defense and the athleticism necessarily not translating to a star at the next level, but he's so skilled and can operate in pick and roll and be a secondary closeout attacker off of Jokic or with him.
Right.
And obviously there's the fun factor that Nikola Jovic and Nikola Jokic would be 2 Serbian pro basketball players that made it to the same team, and you got to be excited about that. But I really like I would just imagine like a clean offensive fit there with Aaron Gordon obviously cutting and finishing off of them, and Hall and Michael Porter back too.
I think Jovic, a lot of people have been doing this pick for the memes, and I get it. It's really funny. Jovic played for last season the same Serbian team that Jokic came out of, a number of other Serbian players. I think Jovic does look like a kind of Michael Porter Jr. type of player. great size, great touch, can shoot the ball, but it's those other factors that will hold him back. Seeing if they figure out the defense, the finishing, the ball handling, seeing if they can be, a creator as opposed to just a finisher. But at least with Jovic, you'd be paying him whatever the number 21 pick in the draft makes, as opposed to MPJ's max contract, which you could, if you see some potential out of Jovic, you could try and flip that into a different player, seeing how that goes. So I do like this here for them. There's some options on there for defense, but they've never been shy, and I don't think the promoted general manager is going to be shy in his first draft either. We're going to move on to Kevoo. We've got number 22, the Memphis Grizzlies, who seem to make the right pick every year, especially when they're in the late first round or the early second round. Here they've got the number 22. Who do you see them taking?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna get them some perimeter depth. I'm not a big fan of Dylan Brooks just because he's so sporadic. You never know what you're gonna get out of him, really. I was a big fan of them drafting Zaire Williams last year. I think he has all-star potential down the line. But I'm gonna go with Josh Minot or Minot. I don't know why. I watched plenty of Memphis games this past year. I still don't know what it is, the right pronunciation. But this guy, man, he was probably the most underrated freshman of the class that had Imani Bates and Jalen Durant coming for Penny Hardaway. Uber athletic, real deal lob threat. Can honestly probably potentially down the line guard 1 through 5, like 6'8", long wingspan, super active on the glass. Like, he's a project, but we all know Memphis has one of the best developmental franchises in the NBA. Again, like you said, they've been drafting their ass off for like the past however many years now.
Right.
And I think Josh Minot fits perfectly here. You brought in Zaire, you got Kyle Anderson. Both those guys are kind of more offensive minded, wings. I think Josh Minot gives them a huge defensive presence down the line to, help them out and get a little bit more sturdy on that perimeter in the Western Conference.
Dre, number 23, the Philadelphia 76ers. They need, I think there's quotes. I think there's multiple quotes, honestly. It's getting out of hand. General managers and front office people saying we need dogs this offseason. I'm pretty sure Washington's front office made a statement like that. I think Philadelphia has as well. Really corporatizing memes. It really sucks to hear, but Dre, they need some people that can really not quit on them in the playoffs. Talented roster, some young pieces, even with guys like Tyrese Maxey. Tobias Harris might get moved. Do you see someone out here that can make an immediate difference for the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, so Philly's definitely one of those interesting teams, in the Joel Embiid era, have yet to make a conference finals appearance, which is crazy to me, to say the least.
Yeah.
We all know the Ben Simmons saga, and we all know how things have went with James Harden thus far.
Mm-hmm.
But Philly definitely needs a change. I think they need somebody that can possibly, I don't know if they really change the whole dynamic of the team, but definitely provide some energy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a guy that could possibly back up Joel Embiid in the center position, and that's Walker Kessler out of Auburn. Really love his energy on the defensive end. I think he stands at about 7'1", if I'm not mistaken. So his height really leads the way as far as his defense. And then on top of that, he really shot a high percentage around the rim. At Auburn, I think he shot about 60% as well. So he's not really like the guy that moves the needle for Philly, but with his energy, with the way that he plays, I feel like he could definitely make a difference for this Philly team. If he does get the playing time in Philly. Or if he would.
Walker Kessler is going to be a first-round pick. I know he's falling to the second in a lot of mocks. I think there's 3 centers that are going to go in the first round, in Duren, Williams, and then Kessler, who goes to the team that was hoping that Williams would fall. I think that someone does. I really hope that a lot of mocks say 24, and I promise you the Bucks, I hope, don't take Walker Kessler. And in this scenario, they can't. He's at 23. They're taken by Philadelphia, who has struggled to find a backup center for Joel Embiid for probably the entirety of his time in Philadelphia. At 24, the Milwaukee Bucks are thrilled that this player is still on the board. I have one other player that is my guy if all the wings are off the table at 24, and I'll save him to see if he falls to my next pick, maybe my last pick of this draft. But right now, the Bucks need a wing, someone that can guard multiple positions, hit corner threes, high IQ, and ready to play. Not any rookie mistakes. Someone that I think of as sort of like an ethical Grant Williams in this draft. The Bucks are taking E.J. Liddell out of Ohio State. Good defender. People always comp him to PJ, which, by the way, turned down his player option and will be looking at a lot of contenders in free agency. Just bring him back. I do miss him quite a bit, but EJ Liddell will replace him even if we don't. I'm a huge fan of Liddell, but let's keep it moving. Only a few picks left. RK25, this is the Spurs' third pick in the draft. You don't have to make it work with their roster. You don't have to make it seem like it's the best fit for them because they have two other picks that they're probably going to take more time in developing and focusing on. So whoever you'd like to choose for this pick, who would you see at 25 for the Spurs or whomever?
I think I've got a classic Spurs pick here. Jake LaRavia out of Indiana State. 6'8", skilled, just a tall forward that can do a little bit of everything. Throw him out there next to Vassell, Murray, and who else did I draft for him? Sharp. Man, we got a squad.
Yeah.
He just a lot to like. Maybe not necessarily the star potential, but another good basketball player. We took Sharp earlier, and another well-fitting pick earlier as well. You get another guy that should slide right in and into Spurs type of system where you imagine a great fit with the Popovichian 0.5 second rule of pass, dribble, shoot decision making right away. Just another guy to keep the ball moving, good basketball player, and I like the fit there next to their core.
It's a great pick.
Yeah.
That's a really good fit,
Yeah, he's raising up. He's going to be a first-round pick as well, and it's a perfect Spurs pick, like you said. Probably a successor to McDermott there, who has had like an okay return in his time in San Antonio. Kevoo, number 26, Houston. Again, they've taken two players already in this draft. Paolo Banchero with the third pick and Ousmane Dieng at the 17th pick. Lanky guys that are going to be in the starting lineup, talented. Do you want to take another big, another wing? Do you want to take a guard to switch it up? Maybe they don't keep this pick, but who are you taking at 26?
I'm gonna go wing, and I really, really, really desperately want this guy to end up in Miami with my Heat. But I'm gonna go with Justin Lewis out of Marquette, 6'8" wing. One of my favorite players in college basketball this year. He took a significant leap. He's from Baltimore. Just so versatile defensively. I think he's the prototypical wing that NBA scouts are looking for. You know what I'm saying? Especially for my Heat. Even though I know this pick is for Houston. Super versatile, long arms, jumper is pretty good. He's not really great on the ball just yet, but he's good as just a catch and shoot option. And I just think that defensive versatility is going to keep him in the league for a decade plus. I really do think that. And he's one of my favorite players in this class. I think defensively, it's just so many different things that he could do. And, he can post up. He's a pretty good playmaker too. And I just think Justin Lewis is a guy that's going to be a quiet pick, but he's going to end up making a lot of noise in the NBA down the line. The Marquette dudes have a history of doing that.
And Miami knows that with the Marquette guys they've had in their history there with Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler. So they do it again here.
Right. Marcus Howard, Marquette, great. Not in Miami, but
yes, sir.
One of the most exciting players to watch. He's got to make it one of these days, right? Like
facts.
Six man.
He had some minutes with Denver in the playoffs last year, I think, when he came out.
Obviously, there's the size concern, but just random tangent. Why not let him run a handoff with Jokic every once in a while? Like how you stopping a Marcus Howard handoff with Jokic? Like who's guarding that? They might not stop anybody either, but who's guarding that?
Right. I went to Marquette. I saw half of those games that he had. I hope he finds a way.
Right around town here. They were charging $50 to go see him play, so it was like an hour drive, and of course he dropped 50 points at Disney World in some just game. Right, I want to say right before Marquette's last season, his last season there. But man, just fun talent. But aside, just a fan. Not even a scout, just a fan.
Just a fan.
You like that?
A lot of Marquette talent out there, a lot of it on the Heat. They miss out on the Marquette talent, who goes number 26 to Houston. And number 27, this is Dre's pick. The Miami Heat, who is another great drafting team, especially in the later half of the draft. Who do you see them taking at number 27 here?
So I'm listening to what Kev is saying, as a Heat fan, making his predictions on, on who they should pick. But in the shoes of Pat Riley, looking at my roster, just made a conference finals appearance. things aren't really going too well with Kyle Lowry, with his shape. And I'm really lacking scoring, besides like guys like Jimmy Butler and then Tyler Hero. I don't know, man. I might trade the pick. I might trade the pick and see what I can get.
Sure.
Possibly out there in the trade. I don't know.
Sure. If they keep the pick, do you know anybody that'd be on the board for you?
Hang on 1 second.
We can get the resident Heat fan in the house. You got somebody on your board that you want your
probably,
team to take?
Yeah,
take that, Kev.
I'll give you mine, even though I wanted to save him. I'll give you Bryce McGowan's out of Nebraska.
Okay.
Another dude that's just a dog. I really believe, he was originally committed to Florida State before he went to Nebraska. Like, I really think if he stayed at Florida State, he would have probably been the top 15 pick, no question. Gets to the free throw line consistently, which is a hard thing to do at the college level as a true freshman. Elite level scorer, just tapping into his scoring prowess, to be honest with you guys. And I think he's a player. I really do. Just an overall bucket getter, to be honest. I think he would help us out a lot down the line.
Bryce McGowan's. We'll see if that Tyler Hero earning the starting role works out for them in Miami. And if not, Bryce McGowan's is going to help out. At number 28, this is not who I would take for Golden State, I don't think, although I think he could help. This is someone that I have sliding on a lot earlier, and I want to talk about him before this episode of the pod is over. He applies to a lot of the things that I said about Dyson Daniels. Defends really well about multiple positions, has great wingspan. Passes the ball and pick and roll really well, which is a concern with his shooting in terms of solo creation. But if he's a secondary, a third playmaker, I think that he can be really effective in this league, especially with his defensive impact. This is my pick. In all of my mocks that I'm running right now, he's going number 16 to Atlanta, but there are some wings that I liked instead in this one. He's also who I would take at number 24. I'd love to take him at 24 in Milwaukee. If EJ Liddell wasn't there, I'm talking about Dalen Terry in Arizona.
Interesting.
I think I clearly have like a bias towards these types of players, but I think if you're a tall defensive guard that has proven playmaking chops, there's a lot of room to grow there, a lot of time that you can have on the court without needing to do anything else, especially if you go later in the draft to a team that has a lot of help for you. If you go to an Atlanta, you're not the primary playmaker. You're playing off of Trae Young. If you're in Milwaukee, you're running pick and roll with Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you go to Golden State, you're playing the Gary Payton second role, but you're 6'7" instead of 6'3", and you're playing like a big center that can play multiple positions. I think he can be used by the smartest NBA teams, and so one of them that has a pick in the later round is going to take him. That's why I wanted to mention him. RK, your last pick of the draft, and the second last pick of this draft at number 29, the Memphis Grizzlies select
Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame.
Right,
pull up shooter.
Like
Thank you. I mean, it's just another good basketball player. That's what Memphis does, just draft good basketball players that everybody seems to like, exciting. But Wesley's got burst, acceleration, can get to the rim. You got to maybe work on the finishing a little for maybe why he might drop a little bit. But, he can defend well. Some, like, what might want to compare him to like if he did fall that late, maybe a maxi comp where you're getting an explosion athlete with some handle who can develop there. But I like comps, but I know they put caps on players, and that's not fair. So he can be anything as long as he puts in the work. But just another good basketball player. Throw in the backcourt there, maybe a little upside explosion. Just imagine Wesley and Morant just coming at you full speed. So
Kevoo, last pick in the draft, number 30. The Denver Nuggets moved up to this pick. They took Nikola Jovic with the 21st pick. There's, at least on the board that I've got, some talent out here, depending on what fits with the team. What are you doing with the last pick in the first round of the 2022 NBA draft?
Selfishly, I'm going to go with my Michigan State guy, Max Christie.
There we go.
6'6" shooting guard. A lot of people, he struggled scoring. I'll be the first to admit that. But I think it was more of a confidence issue and kind of just him, settling for the mid-range shot, which is a tough shot, probably the toughest shot in the game right now. But I think, getting his confidence right, taking a little bit more threes, driving to the rim a little bit more is going to do wonders for him. I think that was kind of an issue. Is just, again, he just settled too much. And I just think, he did everything else well. Defensively, on the ball, off the ball, he was good in help side. On the ball, he gets down the stance. He can slide his feet a little bit. He's a really good passer, too. He knows how to play within the game. Rarely ever forces anything. So I think Max Christie, slept on. Going into the college season, he would probably be he was like a top 15 pick. I think he was rated, but he dropped off a little bit just because he wasn't scoring at the clip that most people expected him to. I think in the NBA with that space, and he'll be able to be a much better player at that level.
That's the last pick of the draft. I hope you enjoyed. A couple of, there's still some talent on the board in our players. Marjon Beaucamp out of the G League Ignite, Christian Brown, Kendall Brown, Patrick Bolton Jr. There's going to be talent that drips into the second round, whether it goes the way that we decided it or some of those guys replace whoever we had in the first round. But draft is in 2 days, man. I'm really excited. RK, I'm sure you have been waiting for this since the draft lottery, which I'm sure you were waiting for since the end of the season. It has been a really cool turnaround for the Magic. I'm hoping for the best for you guys on Thursday, which includes one Chet Holmgren. But even if you end up with any of those top three, you're going to be in a really nice place. RK, thanks for coming on to the revamped podcast. You were on here before. Plug your stuff. Let the people know where to find you.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Always fun talking hoops and the draft and all that. You can find me on Substack at the moment, the same handle, Beyond the RK, and just basically covering the Magic, NBA, draft. Just love all things basketball. So check me out. And this was a blast.
All of it will be thrown up on our Twitter tomorrow, which is today if you're listening to it. I know it's very complicated. That's why I'm confusing myself. Kevoo, thank you for coming on. You're going to become a regular at this point, which I would have no negative feelings about. Plug your stuff, the podcast, all of it.
Yeah, so I got the Kevoo Bands Hoops podcast that, I just does everything basketball from the women's side to the men's side of the college game, high school game, all the way to the pros. Just recently partnered up with my guy Daniel Artest, 265 Media, going to be doing a podcast with him.
Congrats to that.
Takes. Yeah, appreciate it. No hot takes, real basketball talk. And yeah, shout out to the collective. We do our spaces every Friday. We just talk everything basketball at 3 p.m. Pacific time. You ever want to tune in? My ad name is Easy Money Kev 7. You guys already know Nick, so you follow him, you'll be there. So, and as always, I appreciate you guys, man. This was fun.
Yes, sir.
Bless. Dre, as always, at Nick Andre ATR on Twitter. A lot of love out there on the TL right now. Dre's doing all right. Go show him some love, guys.
We're doing a lot better than we did the last few weeks.
Yeah. Show him some love, guys. Go give him a follow. Check out the articles on there. Dre, appreciate you as always. Follow me at _Gucifer, Lucifer with a G if you truly care. If not, doesn't really matter. Follow us at Hoop Truther Pod on Twitter, Hoop Truther Studios on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, I look a little sweaty. It's fine. Subscribe, notifications on, like the video. It's all going to be okay. I really promise. Next time we see you, we'll probably be discussing the results of the draft, and I'm hoping I'm going to go over under 3 trades happen, and I'm going to hit that over. I think 3 trades will happen at least during there. So we'll talk about the ramifications on that. Until then, have a great week, dudes. Deuces.
Peace.